In this video I'll be showing off how to create a specular and a normal map. So we'll go for the easiest first, a specular. So what is a specular map? Well, essentially a specular map simulates light reflection on an object. So it just basically makes things shiny. So the first thing you want to do is create a black and white image. Now black and white is pretty much used for speculars, bumps and normal maps. For speculars, if an image is darker, so it's more black, black means absolutely no reflection whatsoever, whereas white does, so you get those highlights in the white areas. So as you can see, I've already created these folders for it, and I'll start off with the wood here. And the easiest thing you can do is go to adjustments, desaturate. So I've got the black and white sort of image here, and again you could just leave it as that, but if you really want to make a really good looking specular map, you're going to need to go into it, tweak it a little bit here and there. Again, it's kind of difficult to make really good specular maps. I'm just showing you sort of the basics here, so I'm going to probably edit this a bit. Here right now, if I put this into Maya, it might be sort of like a very faint sort of white specular over everything. I might want to change that a bit because it is wood and it's pretty much hardwood, so I don't think it would be that reflective. Again, you have to kind of base it off real life as well, so always observe sort of real life surfaces. That's the whole thing about trying to recreate an object in a 3D space. You need to know how it works in the real world. So if you ever see like a really hard wooden door, you need to look at it and observe it and say, okay, how does the light reflect off it? Does it have any sort of specularity to it? All those sort of things can come in handy when actually creating textures. So I might want to go into adjustments, curves, or any of the other ones. So I might want to change it a bit. Adding a bit of that to it. No, that's not going to give me a... I'm not really good with these, but that actually... Yeah, something like... It's a little bit up. A little bit like that. Just messing with the curve to see what kind of... That looks fine. I got these little white areas here that might have a little bit of a specular to it. Again, I can kind of go in and mess around with it a bit. As for now, just to show, this pretty much looks like it could be okay. Again, if you ever worry, just export it out and see how it looks. So for that could work pretty well. For these here, let's start off with the metal here. This will be an interesting one, so I'll take that. Now for this metal, I might actually add a little bit of a thing to it. So I'm going to use the clone stamp tool here. The clone stamp tool, essentially what you do is you hold Alt, click on an area, and it actually creates like a duplicate of this texture here. It's pretty good to use when creating seamless textures, but I might use this particular texture on this one here, create a duplicate here. And actually before that I should really desaturate. Let's mess around with the adjustments pretty. Just again, messing around with things, see what works, see what doesn't work. That's always the most important thing when it comes to doing these. There we go. Select inverse, delete these areas. And I might actually overlay that with this. Again, I might change this a bit as well. Just desaturate that. But with this. fine with these as well. Just adjustment, desaturate, adjustment. That can work. So I got this specular map now. That's fully finished. That can be ready to go out. We'll see how it looks later on. Now let's get onto the normal maps. Now, normal maps allow you to fake higher detail onto lower poly meshes. Kind of like a bump map, but normal maps have far more detail. And to create a normal map is pretty much the same way as creating a bump map. Again, you need black and white sort of image, sort of a grey image, similar to a bump map. And again, white for a normal map equals height, whereas black equals depth. So obviously the sort of grey area is kind of a place in between. So we'll start off with the wood here. I'll turn these off just to focus on the wood part here. So again, I might just go into adjustments, desaturate, and then play around with this image to see what works and what doesn't work. So again, I might just darken it, add some of that contrast to it. And just let's see how that looks. And for the nuts as well, these will need to stand out more if I want these to actually look like they're sticking out. So I might want to make these much more prevalent. So again, that's pretty, that would probably do it. Okay, and for the metal, I don't think I'd probably want it to stand. I think that alone would just do it fine for me. Most likely, what if you manage to make a bump map, a normal map for this here? If I go to image, adjustments, desaturate, that should be fine. So as you can see, this is pretty much ready to be made into a normal map. Now, if you're using a newer version of Photoshop, such as Photoshop CC or above, then you might not have this option, but don't worry. In the newer versions of Photoshop, if you go to filter, around here there will be two options, one called generate normal map and generate bump map. It does require you to sort of mess around with this first before creating that, but if you have older versions of Photoshop, you can use the NVIDIA plugin, the normal map filter. So as you can see here, we have this normal map filter here. What I would say is have these settings first, the alpha field set to 1.0, the high average RGB here, the height source, sorry, as average RGB, and then you can start messing around with the scale. Now the scale actually adds the depth into it. As you can see, if I put it to 1, you see there's nothing there, but if I add it to say 9, you can kind of see that it's sticking out more. So if I try 4, you can actually preview it. So if you press the preview 3D button, it will show you what it looks like. It does take a bit of time just to see to render it out. So if I just zoom in here, you can kind of see what kind of normal map is created here, and this looks pretty okay. I think that would be fine. So if once you're happy with it, you press OK, and it will take a bit of time. It'll just quickly make it into a normal map. So as you can see, this is the normal map for the wood here. It looks pretty good. I think this will be fine. And again, you just go back and just mess around with the filters again. See what you like, see what you don't like. So if I put that to 9, just check how that looks. You can see how that pops out more. It's probably a bit too strong, so I might turn it down to about 5. And again, this is pretty much the best way to make normal maps. So I'll just go in, do that same for the metal as well, and then I've got a normal map. Actually, I might turn that down a little bit. It looks pretty strong. So I might turn that down to a 3, and that should be fine. And for the metal, I don't think I'll need much with it, but just in case, I might just put it down to a 1. Just a little bit of it. I don't think I need much of it. Yeah, you can kind of see there's a very slight area over all of that. What we'll do now is actually select that area on this, select inverse, delete the nuts there, select inverse, delete, there we go. So there, now you can see that I've actually created my normal maps and my specular maps.